Welcome to the Bleep Bulimia podcast with guest Carenda Deonne, the #1 change agent. Hi everyone, I am Lorianne. I am the host of Bleep Bulimia. And today I am so pleased to have Carenda Deonne with me, and she is the #1 change agent. I love that. The reason why I reached out to her to be on this podcast is because I loved what I read in her profile about, pointing the finger outward versus pointing the finger inward and taking control of your stuff. So thank you so much for being here, Carenda. And please do tell us how you came to become a #1 change agent.
Wow. Well, first of all, Lorianne, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. And, my becoming came through pain. My becoming did not happen because, my parents laid out the silver platter, or I had all of the resources, or I had all of the right connections. My becoming came from pain, learning through experiences and choosing a different way. And that's not always easy because when you do have to choose, you have to take accountability as well. So yeah. But I'm excited to be here and share my story and hope that someone is, many are absolutely encouraged by today.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So let's move on to that. Tell us about your story. How did you learn that pointing the finger outward was not as important as pointing it inward?
Yeah, what happened with me was, and you've probably heard this saying, that when life gives you lemons to make lemonade, right? And Lorianne, I was going through my second divorce, and I had noticed just certain cycles happening over and over in my life. Same cycle, maybe different person, different name, maybe different location, but the cycle was the same. And I remember talking to a friend, and I was having one of those boo-hoo moments, tissues and just letting it out, just feeling like I was a failure, just feeling like, here I am, going through this again, and a person that is full of love and full of life, and how is this happening? And I said to my friend, I said, that saying, when they say when life gives you lemons to make lemonade, I said, well, what if I don't want to make lemonade? What if I don't want to make lemonade? And my friend said, well, don't. Take aim. And I said, oh my gosh, that's it. Throw the lemons back, right? And so from that very moment, Lorianne, from that very breath, my life was never the same. And from that point forward, I was determined to heal first, and then take that message of taking aim, by taking accountability, by building your strength, by doing self-healing in order to throw those lemons back. And from there, things have just blossomed. Yeah.
So it's interesting that you say that there's this repeat, and I would understand when you're saying that when you do the self-healing and you take accountability for it, those cycles start to break.
Yes, cycles do start to break. And what happens, one of the cycles is that mentally, because you have this war between your mind and your heart, right? And there are times when you feel you want to do better, but your mind sometimes triggers things that says, well, can you? And then it's the opposite, where your mind says you can do this, but your heart has so much weight and pain from experiences in life, and you're like, I'm too broken, right? So there's always this struggle. And, I had to really work hard and as best as I could, because we're not perfect, right? Even though I'm a better Carenda, I'm still a work in progress. As best as I could, trying to bring alignment, right? Balance, alignment of the head and the heart. So those moments when I might feel that I'm not enough, having my mind to filter those thoughts into my heart to say, yes, you are. Yes, you can. And putting that one step in front of the other. Lorianne, I used to be this person where I felt like I had to build Rome in a day, and it's just, it's just not possible.
I totally relate.
It's not realistic, right? And so I have started to, in my life, just embrace the beauty of the journey. So that's embracing the good days and the bad days as beautiful. The struggles, the successes, as all beautiful, as a part of a beautiful journey in this walk of self-healing. But yes, there is a shift in mind and there is a shift in heart, but it's going to take consistency. It's going to take love, right? I'm telling you, Loyan, there was a time in my life where I really truly had to love Carenda all over again. Yeah. And it made a world of a difference when I did.
And that's the other thing too that you're talking about. So awareness is very important because, and awareness of self, like I said, like I noticed, and in all fairness, there were things that earlier I used to blame outwardly. Some of that is, like I was telling you prior to being on here, is the literature or what people are saying that, this is this person's fault for you coming to this. And when you have to look at it, it's not really their fault. It's the way that you responded to it.
Yes.
But that in itself doesn't make it your fault, but it makes you need to be aware of how you're responding to what's around you. And I love that. That's why I said it's like holding it. I had a really good question and I just forgot it. So that's
no worries. But you know what? While you're thinking, I just thought of something too to add to what you were saying. It's so important to come to a place of accountability because it shows that you love yourself and it shows that you are ready to set boundaries even as you move forward. And the other thing that is so precious about accountability is that you no longer become dismissive, right? I mean, it's so easy to be dismissive and put all of the weight on someone else and feel like, oh, I've made myself lighter. No, no, we can't do that. So when you begin to take accountability, you begin to say, you know what, I have some weight to carry in this, and I'm willing to work through that. And I'm willing not to put unnecessary pressures on myself, understanding where I am and the work that I need to put in to be a better person, to be better for others. So I just love that. Sometimes people feel like, oh, when you take accountability, you are saying it's your fault. No, it's not about saying it's my fault, but it is about saying that I love myself enough to say that I'm ready to be a better person for me first and then for others.
Absolutely. And I know that the not good enough is out there. It's like, I think pretty well, we have another podcast I have with the co-host and we hear that consistently. And I hear it here too. And I know for myself, when I'm alone in a room, I feel good enough. But when I go out into the world, I start feeling self-conscious. So there's a difference between self-confidence and self-consciousness.
It is. There's absolutely, that's really good, Lorianne, that you said that. It really is a difference in regards to self-consciousness and self-confidence. And, for me, one of the things that I know I had to work on was understanding that I can't be everything to everybody, and understanding that I won't be able to please everybody, and it's okay. And to, I'm telling you, there was this time in my life, Loyan, where I felt like, well, if I live this life of perfection, then maybe I'll be a better wife, or maybe I'll be a better friend, or I'll be a better business partner, or more people will like me. But you know what? I am so excited to show up as my authentic self, right? And even those quirky things, I'm clumsy sometimes I stutter, I snort when I laugh really good, but it's okay. It's all good, right? So I just learned to embrace all of me, right? Understanding that all of me is made beautiful. And but there definitely is a difference. And I'm glad that you said that, because we do have to be aware that it is the difference between the two.
Yeah. And you're
Yeah.
perfect with your imperfections.
Perfect with your imperfections. Perfect with your imperfections. Absolutely. And when you really come into that awareness, everything in your life just change. It just changes, and a lot of things shift, and you begin to see the beauty and the love, in things that sometimes it's easy to take for granted, and the little things in life. Yeah, but that's it. You got it.
And it's funny, things in business are so transferable. And I know this is about bulimia, but I have to say this because I was, and still am, but I was a working mom.
Hmm.
I still continue to work. And there's those correlations of, I had failed businesses like you were saying that you
Hmm.
did too. And there was something that I read about, and it said, if you point the finger at, well, it was the economy or this or that and the other thing, the mistakes that you made in your business, you will not be aware of.
Mm,
So again, there's the
true.
accountability. It's the same thing in life.
It's the same thing.
If
It is.
you don't look at it and say, you know what, it wasn't all, in my divorce, I could have said it's all his fault. But
Hmm.
when I started taking accountability for reasons that might have led to what happened,
Hmm.
it became easier for me because now I could see what I needed to change in myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
So
That
yeah.
is so true.
So I'd like to know a little bit more about you too, because I know I'm just loving that you're here, and this is really exciting for me. Now I know that you've authored some books. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah. Well, my first book was, it's a poetry book. I love to write. Writing has always been my safe place. And writing poetry for me is healing. I am able to express freely without judgment. Able to truly open up, without any boundaries. And so the first book is called Soul of a Poet. And it just goes through all the things in life, and it's just put in poetry form. So yeah, really excited about that, and I still enjoy writing poetry. I think I might do another book at some point, a poetry book at some point, but I just love that. And then I was a contributing writer for a book called The Weight: The Pitfalls, the Things That I've Learned, in regards to being an entrepreneur, and some of the lessons, hard lessons, in regards to starting a business, jumping too quickly in partnerships or with people, jumping too quickly in investments, but things of that nature, to give people some clarity and some caution and wisdom as they start their own business. And then my latest book is Perfect Patty Messed Up. Oh.
I
I'm
love
actually,
it.
no, I'm actually working on the second edition of Perfect Patty, and this second edition, I'm actually looking for women who are ready to share their story of how they turned their mess into a message. But Perfect Patty really, it's a devotional. It's a 40-day devotional, and it helps us to understand that we are going to mess up. But what are the lessons that you've learned, and how you absolutely can move forward gracefully? Yeah.
I love that. That sounds like pretty well a lot of the stuff that we were talking about today in your book.
Absolutely.
How did you come up with that title, Perfect Patty?
I have to give credit where credit is due. I was inspired to write the book from a movie of Tyler Perry. He had several years ago. It was called Why Did I Get Married? And there was a character in the movie, Janet Jackson actually played the character, and she was popular, and she was, the go-to person. She was successful. And it looked from the outside that she had everything, and everything was great. And from the outside, I mean, it was like this perfect person. But then there's this, scene in which she has a breaking point, and she says to her husband, Perfect Patty messed up. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. That's it. Gosh, and so personally, I've never experienced what she was talking about in the scene of the movie of losing a child. But, as a woman, and putting unnecessary pressures on yourself and feeling like you have to have it together all of the time, I felt like this was a perfect time for me to break that cycle for my life, and then to help other women break that cycle too.
Absolutely. And I do think our society has moved forward on that, you know, and some say that men have been brought up to don't cry, but I
Yeah,
was also brought up to don't cry.
yeah,
A little harder, maybe they say for women, because we are sometimes more emotional. I don't know if that's
yeah.
the total truth though, because I've met many
Oh,
emotional men.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
but
Absolutely.
but we're a lot more forgiving. And what I like about that too is, speaking of men, is men are becoming more vulnerable and more emotional, and it's okay. And women as well, you know, the ones that are perceived that they want to show perfection are now able to say, hey, you know what, I went through this and it's
Mm-hmm,
acceptable. Like, and then
mm-hmm,
people are going, yeah, now I can relate to you.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely. Like, oh wow, I can relate. Like, I'm so glad I know, and I'm so glad to know that I'm not the only person going through this. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So when you were going through, you know, your business failures and
Mhm.
that, I mean, I saw there's a beautiful quote you put in about engaging with Les Brown.
Mhm.
How is
Mhm.
that? And tell us about that.
Oh, let me tell you. So, I have always admired Les Brown, right? And I actually had a chance. I was gifted. It was my 30th birthday, right? And you know how you have those milestone birthdays. So it was my 30th birthday, and my pastor's wife, my former pastor's wife, gifted me a ticket to go and meet him and to be a part of his speakers conference. I was just speechless, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really going to meet Les Brown. And so that was such a turning point in my life, because let me tell you, sometimes, you know, we have that excitement of the actual experience of being able to do something, but sometimes we don't even know the setup, like what really is going to happen, right, from actually going through this particular experience that you're going through. And so anyway, I met him, and he was lovely, kind, just so inspiring. But I have to share this activity really quick, Lorianne, if you don't mind.
Please.
So there was a particular activity he had us to do. He had us all to get up and to walk around the room. And I am an introvert. You know, sometimes people think I'm an extrovert, but I really am an introvert. And I was just like, okay, we're going to walk around the room. Okay. So he's like, okay, get up, walk around the room. He says, I want you to keep walking until I tell you to sit down. So we're walking. It's maybe about, I don't know, 50 to 65 or 70 people. It's an intimate group. And so, you know, this person was sitting down. He was telling this person to sit down. And so I'm like, okay, when is he going to tell me to sit down? And so, you know, we're walking and we're walking, and more people were sitting down, and I'm still walking, and I'm like, what is going on here? So I was the last one. I was the only one still walking, Lorianne, around the room. And at this point, my hands are like, you know, that sweaty, palmy. I feel like I'm going to have an anxiety attack right there. And I'm still walking. And he said to me, he said, Carenda, do you know why I have you still walking? And I'm like, no. And he says, I need you to walk until you believe in you. And it just, it changed my life. I mean, because for so long, I'm like, well, I think I'm okay. I was not okay, right? And I love when you can connect with people who can see the greater in you and really push you to pull that out. And I'm telling you, when he said, I need you to walk until you believe in you. And it was like my shoulders got, you know, bigger, and, you know, that smile came on, and I started walking and strutting. And he said, okay, you got it, you know. And it was wonderful. It was wonderful. Yeah. Great experience. Life changing. Absolutely life changing. Yeah.
Well, I would guess that's a wonderful thing. What do they talk in? I can't remember what it is, if it's the timelines or whatever, where there's or NLP, where,
Yeah.
you know, those moments that you know, connect with when you're
Hmm.
feeling down. That's a perfect one. like,
Perfect.
like I love that story. I have not had the opportunity to meet him yet. Someday I hope to. Uh,
Yes. I hope you do. Yes.
I I
Yes.
did I have to say I got to sit at the table with Jack Canfield, and that was kind of really cool too.
Oh,
So
that's
that's my
cool.
big moment.
Yeah, I love it.
So uh, I love this. Can you please let my listeners know where they can find you and your books?
Yes, absolutely. So please, you can find me on the web at carendadeonne.com. Again, that's carendadeonne.com. And I'm also on all of your social media platforms. You can find me Carenda Deonne or Carenda Deonne LLC. And my books are available on Amazon.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And just quickly too, because we were saying that you're the #1 change agent, just before we quickly go, just give us a quick overview of what that means.
Oh gosh, you know what? That means that I am helping you to change your thought process. I am helping you to bring your mindset and your heart into alignment as best as possible so that you can take risks and that you can deliver a new you. Absolutely.
And do you have any like programs that they can sign up for this?
Sure, I do personal mentoring and coaching. They can find that on my website. I also help corporations with a corporate workshop that I do called Finding Joy. So that's important too. And I also do, again, motivational speaking. So you can see where I will, where I'm traveling and where I'm going, and just connect with me. Absolutely.
Beautiful. Thanks again so much, Carenda, for being here with us today. And
Thank you, Lorianne.
and I just can't say enough it's been a wonderful time with you.
Absolutely. Likewise. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you for listening to this episode. Be sure to visit me at bleepbulimia.com.